Hello, it's been a few days since I did a trade review. I think it's actually been like at least a week, maybe longer, since I've done one. So I'm a little upset that I lost the mojo there because I was on a roll with giving trade reviews for most of the trades I was doing. But I have to admit that in the beginning of Feb, I fell into a bit of a funk where I kept having trades not work. They'd either work and then they would begin to really start to go and then they would come all the way back in and stop me out, or they would just straight up not work out of the gates. And I found myself slipping back into some bad behavior and basically wasting a lot of time taking trades that are way too small. I'd been trying to size up, and once I started taking losses, I sized back down. And now, even though I'm sort of regaining a bit of control, which I'll go through about when I talk through the wins that I'm currently in, um, my size has been reduced just because it's been such a difficult environment for me to get a successful trade off the ground. So I thought I'd talk about two trades that I tried that failed that were full stops. And I just cherry picked these from the last couple of weeks. And that's BA and FCX. And then I'll go through the ones that are currently in profit down here. So BA was the first one. And this was a lesson that I learned quickly in that in this environment, breakouts aren't really working. Yeah, I was looking for this test of weekly EMA 12 to hold and then continue for this to continue up. I wasn't looking for anything to roll over here. I was expecting strength to continue because this whole sector was seeing strength. And so if you go down to the daily, I saw we had this bottom, we rallied out of that, we set an inside bar, and I knew that this inside bar could be just a pause before the push higher. And so I was basically playing the breakout of that inside bar. This day here was the inside bar day, and here we were breaking off the open. So right off the open, I was basically playing back through open trade. So it tried to go down and then rallied out of that. And it really started to go. I basically tried to get an entry when it went back through open. I was a little late on my fill. So somewhere here over 245, which was the opening print, I got in and it really started to work. And if you look at this on the 2 minute, it was like instant win. It was just running so hard. And so when it came back in here, I was like very much in profit, and it's very unusual for me to not take risk off, but because it was showing such strong move, I didn't do it. I didn't sell half, and that's really sad. I think part of it was that it was a larger size trade, and when I saw the value of my profit going up so high so quickly, and I thought, wow, this breakout is so strong, I'm just going to let this go. And when it started to pull back in, I thought, well, I need to at least give it to the 2 minute EMA 12, and it came back in there and didn't even come close to bouncing. And so I let it come through, and my entry level, it came down below, came back up, and I thought, oh, this is it, it's going to work. And then it didn't work, but I kept hoping. I was basically living in a world of hope, and it completely didn't work, and it fully stopped me out, and I took the full stop, which in hindsight, there's so many lessons baked into this. The biggest one here is like, this is basically a stuff candle. I think if I put it on the 5 minute, it's probably a stuff candle. No, I mean, it held up. It wasn't fully stuffed, but this second candle here was definitely a stuff candle. I should have just abandoned it. But after seeing the profit so big, like full risk unit within like 2 minutes up plus more, I just thought, oh, this is it. I'm in it. It's going to work. And very unusual for me, very unusual to do this. And so the other thing is, like, I think in any environment, you have to be ready for, especially an inside bar, to break, reject, and fail, and search the other side, which it didn't even break there this same day, but it got there the next day. If anything, when I got up here and it rejected, I should have flipped short because if I'm just doing an intraday trade, you kind of have to expect that if it fails that hard from the upside, it's going to search the downside, which it did here. Didn't quite get there before the bounce, but like that, even if I flipped short, that would have been a pretty great trade in the other direction. So anyway, I didn't do any of that. I just took my full stop and went home with my tail between my legs and was really upset because it was so disappointing to see it go so hugely in profit and then have it completely come back and stop me out at larger size than I'm used to trading. So this was a big strike. And that's why I cherry picked this one, because it was quite a large loss after sizing up. Next one I'm going to talk about is FCX. So we'd had this downtrend on, I guess it's a 12-hour downtrend. Let's see. So yeah, high, low, lower, high, lower, low. And then this is a lower high, but I was looking for this trend to continue because I saw we were getting near this top. Let's go back to the 4-hour. We were basically pushing through this top, and I was looking for it broke the top, and I was looking for it to come back in and give a higher low to continue the trend. And you can see here, if I go to the 30 minute, it might be more clear. Yeah, I'm going to switch this to show you the 4-hour EMA 12. There it is. And so you can kind of see what I was looking for on this one, where I was expecting this trend to continue. And so on this, and you know, before the market opened, we'd had this rejection. I was looking for it to come back in, hit the 4-hour EMA 12, and bounce and continue. And so when it flushed in really hard off the open, this is the area that I was looking to get long at the 4-hour EMA 12, which it had been holding 1, 2, 3, and I thought this was going to be the fourth time. I think somewhere right in there I tried with my stop down here. And I did, that's right, I did stop out on this wick, and then I was like tearing my hair out because I thought this was actually going to go from here. And then when it rolled over, I was like, oh, thank God. Thank God I was just wrong. And I didn't get wicked out by a penny. And so, yeah, I saw this move up and then a higher low, and I basically played for it there, and I didn't get to the risk-free level, and I took a full stop right there. And again, this was another one of those larger size trades, and I thought, well, the breakouts didn't work. This is 2 days later than the BA trade, and I thought, oh, this is a back test on a 4-hour rider that is in a sector that could keep going. So I was just playing for that, and it just didn't work, and I think there's nothing more to say about it. I think probably if I was going to really analyze this trade, I would say the fatal flaw here in my analysis is that it's not really a rider until it's tested it a bunch of times. And so maybe I was even playing like a 1 minute, but either way, we got a low, lower low. This is the first lower high, but no real confirmed close above the moving average before you got that lower high. And so this technically would be the first close above the moving average. And subsequent to that close above the moving average, we actually tested the low again and broke it. And so I just think my mechanics of entry here were not good. Like typically what I'm always trying to get is, so there's a moving average coming down and price is moving below the moving average, right? And what I really want to see is I want to see a break and close above the moving average, followed by a dip that does not break the low that was set. And then that's your turnaround, right? That's kind of, anytime I'm getting a dip, that's really what I'm looking for, is for that to happen. And that didn't happen here. It didn't happen at all. And so that really just was not a good trade, like not a good trade at all. I think that my overall view of FCX, I don't know why I was feeling some FOMO or something to get into this. I have no idea where that came from. Because overall, like, I think it probably is a little too extended anyway. So overall, just not a great execution and not a great higher time frame setup either. But these two trades, where one was a breakout, one was a dip, not working, were really damaging to my confidence that I'd gotten from January. And so following that, I really kind of fell apart for the first 2 weeks of Feb, and just was, size down, so I wasn't losing money, and then just tried to find my footing again. And had a few days in a row where I took more losses, and was getting into some bad habits again of just like, let me try this, let me try this, let me try this. And that's just a terrible place to be. So I'm happy to say I've backed out of that again. I'm focused more on higher time frames. I'm focused more on stocks that are in trends, that are not too extended. So with that in mind, let's go look at some of these other ones. So starting with GLWC. So this was a 12-hour EMA 12 rider. I'll show you what that looked like. There it is. And I bought it over here, I think it was, on this dip. So this is my indicator that I made called my rider indicator, and it basically just draws the rider moving average plus sort of a zone of entry that I should be interested, and also alerts me when we're getting close to it. And so let me get down to the 30-minute, and hopefully I kept my drawings on here. It doesn't look like I did. But essentially, this thing, when it flushed down and it touched this green line here, I got an alert that it was coming into a dip zone to be a 12-hour EMA rider up. And let me get down to the 2-minute. We'll see what I did. Yeah, you can see I just basically, I feel like I've done a review on this before, but we'd come in quite low in the pre-market towards the 12-hour. So there wasn't a lot of distance for it to cover to get down into the spot. And on this 2-minute time frame, we had balance, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 candles down. I played the break of that high candle. Yeah, I know I did a review on this, so I'm going to stop this. But essentially, it started to work, and I got risk-free on this one. And sadly, it's not big size because my confidence was down after the losses of 2 weeks. But either way, winning trade. Jump to the 30 really quick and just look at where it's at now. So at this point now, it's testing the moving average again, which is not great news. My stop has not been moved. I'm still just sitting in this. Sideways is fine. I really want it to, I've seen before, like it can do this where it tests the moving average a couple of times before it gets away, test it again, then really get away. So I don't actually know what's going to happen here. I just don't know. Like, it could come back in and stop me out, in which case, no harm, no foul. Again, not huge size, so I'm not, even though I'm stopping out break even on hitting the stop level here, I wouldn't really care either way if I was losing because it's so small. But just sort of letting this one play out, and we'll see what happens over the next few days. Okay, so NEE, this is one that I did yesterday. And this one's been in a really strong uptrend, another 12-hour rider. And if I look at the daily, it's not quite a stair step. But anyway, it had this dip yesterday, which in all honesty, oh yeah, I put it as a 12-hour rider, but it was breaking through that at the level that I bought it. So when it dipped in here and this alert went off for the 12-hour, I tried this bounce here. And I did get risk-free on this little bounce. Yeah, this is what it was. So I saw we were riding the 1 minute EMA 12 down. And here on this close above, and then a dip below, this is where I tried to get long in this dip with a stop down here. And I think I got risk-free, maybe to this level. I got risk-free anyway, and it did ultimately stop me out. And then I was like, huh, that's too bad. I guess it's not a 12-hour rider. And then later in the day, Tiffany was trading this, and she was looking at it as a daily rider. And I was like, oh, I guess that might be a daily rider. And I looked at it again and got rid of the 12-hour rider off there and thought, oh yeah, the daily could work. But I was just watching it go lower, lower, lower. And Tiffany got like a killer entry at like 90.67 right down here, which is just bonkers, really good entry. And I waited for some more confirmation. I played this break here. You can see my blue line here was my entry, and I played it basically here. And so from there, my stop was at low of day, and it was getting right into the end of the day. So when it moved up here, I sold half somewhere up here and got risk-free, and now I've had this stop, and I've been watching this thing go all day. Did well for most of the day, and now it's rolling over into the end of the day, which is disappointing. But this could just be like a 4-hour lower high that was just set, and now we're going to go lower. Let's see. Yeah, like this, like high, low, lower high, lower low. This could be the lower high. We'll see. I'm just going to let this play out. So don't have a lot of confidence in this, especially I find that when you think it's a higher time frame rider and then you've got to play down to a lower time frame rider, I feel like that kind of reduces the chance that it might work for you. But either way, like I think like getting used to buying these dips is good practice. So I'm happy I played this one no matter what. Okay, PL. This one was from today. So I put some notes on here, but I'll just get rid of that for a sec. So this one, I don't think this was necessarily a rider. Let's look at the monthly time frame, quite extended. Weekly time frame, yeah, weekly stair step down and breaking up. And so on the daily time frame, this was the level. I think it broke it yesterday. And I was watching some people trade this yesterday, and I didn't like their entry. And I thought, oh, I bet you there's a better entry than what they did. They basically played this break over the high of the inside bar, and it went all the way up and started to come back down into the close. And as I was looking at it, I thought, here you can kind of see what I was thinking. But I saw this 4-hour EMA 12 coming up. I saw we were just starting to hold it and then break above it. I thought, ooh, if we came back in and tested that EMA 12 and held the low of prior day, maybe test this resistance turn support, that would be a really good spot to get long. So 30-minute time frame, you can see it better. Here's what I was thinking was I saw this level here that was very clear resistance that it had broken through. And so people were playing, long here, and then it came back in against them into the end of day yesterday. And I thought, oh, a dip below that would be pretty sweet. It might even shake those people out. And then if it holds this level, but especially if it holds the low of prior day, that's pretty cool. And so right off the open, this thing started to flush, and it actually went deeper than I thought it was going to go. And so I'll go right down to the 1-minute time frame. It broke this resistance support level, and that gave me a little bit of pause where I was like, I kind of wanted that to hold. I wanted that to be my spot. You can see where I thought it might go on this pink line. By the way, I love doing this where I draw the drawings on there of what I want to see. That way, when in the morning when I've got a big chart on my other screen and I'm looking at like 8 different symbols and the ideas that I had, I can see which of them are actually doing the thing I wanted it to do. And this was one of them that did it. It doesn't need to be perfect, right? You can see it here, it wasn't perfect, but it sort of gives you an idea of like what would make sense. And like this was making sense to me. And so I bought this thing. First of all, it came down balanced, then dropped lower, went below the resistance level I cared about. And here we're on the 1-minute time frame. You can't really get deeper than that. So here on this purple line here is the low of prior day. We start balancing here. And I'm like, I watched for all of these minutes and I was like, this just looks like a bear flag. Like this could just go lower and just lose that level. So right away I know like that's got to be my stop down there. And maybe I'll get long somewhere in here. And I think it was right there. So my stop down here, that's where I'm completely wrong. I mean, it could go lower than this, and I could still be correct in the trade being a winner. I just know that level is where I'm like, okay, forget it. We are rejecting that push on the weekly time frame that it did yesterday. We're completely falling over if we lose that level. So basically, I bought right on the inside bar when the top of this inside bar broke bull. That's where I got in, and I rode it all day. I've been riding it. I sold a portion. I sold half at risk free, so somewhere up here, and I'm holding the rest. And you can see it did a better move today than it did yesterday. Like that dip was just a gift. And so this trade today has given me a lot more confidence again. Thank goodness. I feel like I'm back and making good decisions again. The only thing I will say is that, again, I did not size up yet. So this is not a huge winner for me. It's just a small trade. And why didn't I size up? Well, I would have sized up if it actually held that resistance turn support. I feel like that when it shook my confidence when it went lower than that, and I thought this was a low probability trade down here looking like a bear flag. I never would have guessed that it was actually going to do all of this today, because that is a very big move from my entry spot. We're up 10%, right? Like that's legit. And so from a bear flag to that, I just wasn't sure. I hadn't really, like, this was technically a higher low, but then it didn't fully move right away. So I don't know. I just didn't feel confident in it. But I do think that based on this working, based on NEE working, and me being, and GLW working, even if none of those are actually going to work out well and they'll ultimately stop me out, just the fact that I'm getting my executions better, right? Like that I'm finding the locations, I'm trading the smaller time frames the way I want to, and it's working. That's giving me a bit more confidence. Okay, this is a super long video. I'm gonna do the last one, Google. So Google was coming off all-time highs. So this was all-time high up here, and then we basically had a 2 down day and then an earnings dump, and then a bounce out of that earnings, and then just down from there. And so I was looking at this, so we had a gap down into a bounce, and then no more gaps, just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 days stair-stepping down. And on this 9th day, we gapped down and tested this weekly higher low level, sort of a support level. So on the day that this thing was gapping down, I was watching it come in, and I wasn't paying too much attention. I decided that like I'm interested if a stock that's been insanely strong and is coming off all-time highs comes down this quickly. And if I put on this indicator, I'll put the daily oversold level so you can see there. So on the gap down, it was in daily oversold territory solidly. And so we're coming off all-time highs, stair step down the whole way, gap down, the first gap down on that 9-day stair step down since the earnings gap down, which is, I just sort of have to discount that. I thought, well, this is actually a really good spot to try to mark a bottom on a gap down after a massive flush off all-time high into daily oversold and right into a key level on the weekly time frame. It just felt like I got to give this a shot, even if I think that it might roll over. The only negative things I see here is it's like monthly, just very extended, and it had broke the monthly stair step. Like that's not great. Weekly, that's why the weekly level was so important, because I'm like, the weekly trend is basically could be broken. But at the very least, I thought like we should be able to get a bounce. And the other thing I was thinking was, if we got the bounce going from there and we broke the prior day high, then we really have what's called a pivot machine gun, where all the people who shorted this whole way down have put stops above the high of each prior day. And if this thing starts to rally and it starts to take out those stops, it'll start going faster and faster and faster as it hits those stops, and people start market filling on their stops getting hit. And so I thought I gotta take a chance at that. And so I did it. I got risk free. You can see where my cost basis was down there. So I bought, it must have been on the way back up here. I can't remember. It must have been here on this move back up. And it was just a sort of low risk. You know, I had a key level right there that I could put my stop against. But honestly, I wasn't even thinking about the stop. I was just like, it helped me to size it. Again, really small size. It helped me to size it to know that there was that stop level there, but didn't think too much beyond that. And now, as you can see, we're basically bear flagging here and it's not really working, but so be it. So anyway, that is that. I think, you know, none of these are home run wins. Maybe PL would probably be the best one that I've had so far, Planet Labs. And I'm really excited about that. I think the lessons that I've learned in the last 2 weeks are to stick to my guns when it comes to sticking to rider plays and not going for any breakouts. So only buying dips on stocks that are showing strength. And then really focus on my entry tactics and making sure that I don't front run anything, and I wait for exactly the criteria I want and the setup I want before I get involved in the trade. And then as long as I do those things, there's no reason I shouldn't put my size back up a little bit and just keep trying. All right, that's it for me. Happy trading.